Welcome back, denizens. Time for another edition of the Monday Morning Mailbag. It's the Monday morning. You're supposed to sing that part. This is interactive after all. That's right. JT McRoberts here with you once again, host of Comic-Jutsu, creator of the Comic Book Dojo, and the purveyor of all things pop culture. I am a producer, writer, illustrator, working on my own graphic novel, which I will not show to you at this time because I work alone, like freaking Aragorn walking through the gates of Mordor, man. I work alone. When it's ready, I'll bring it to you. But until then, we've got to create a little content for this channel to keep spreading the word out there. So why not have another Monday morning mailbag, because we've got a few comments that have come in over the previous weeks, and I've got some goodies that I can show off to you. First up, let's start with the channel comments. We've got another one from Parker Animations 3671. Damn, they were mad AF. Or is that mad AF? No, I know what that means. Subhuman in quotes. Yes, he is referencing the X-Men comics and God Loves, Man Kills news segment from the mid-1980s. Interestingly enough, somewhere along the way I lost my original copy of God Loves, Man Kills. I did not buy that off the shelf, but I picked it up and looked at it off the shelf. Okay, back when we had, what were those stores called? B. Dalton's. Okay, you had this fantastic science fiction section, fantasy, all that. You could look at all these amazing covers. Then you had a role-playing section, and then the comic book rack. And then suddenly, one year, graphic novels started appearing there on the shelves. I picked it up. Hey, here's the X-Men that I love. Flip through it, and I'm like, I'm confused. What's happening here? So I put it back, of course, because like anything great that came out at the time, it was too much for my little brain to process. And it wasn't until years later that I picked it up, and then I don't know what happened to it. But I managed to score a copy really cheap on the secondary market just the past few weeks. I was just reminded by all these responses to these videos that I don't have a copy of it currently. And I found one in a lot with a copy of the New Mutants Demon Bear graphic novel, which, mind you, I have the original issues still. God Loves, Man Kills, and the Wolverine Frank Miller Chris Claremont series. You know, all three of those. And the way it was listed, the poor seller just didn't do themselves any favors, because they had it listed as just X-Men books. And, those individual titles weren't even featured in the top of the listing, in the title of the listing. So people that were looking for any one of those might not even have found it. And I got it super cheap, like for less than the cost of any one of them. So there you go. But you are right, Parker Animations. I may have responded to you last time. I lose track of these sometimes. But you're still correct. They were mad AF. That's the way that they do. And since I live in the South, that's right, I am a Southern boy. And some people may even refer to me as a dirty, dirty redneck. But I know all about small-mindedness and the hateful nature and the fear-mongering of the South. I've heard it. People talking about Harry Potter, Pokemon, comic books, whatever rises to the top of pop culture. If it's not something that has some kind of religious bent to it that agrees with that person's religion, mind you, okay, then they find it as offensive, as demonic, as dangerous, all these things, because they have nothing better to do and they're small-minded idiots. So there you go. Another response to X-Men comics, God Loves, Man Kills. The fact that the religious right... Oh, excuse me. This is DMAC6193. The fact that the religious right hates this book just makes me want to love it even more. It is an all-time classic. You know what? Yes, it is. I agree. So classic that I had to go buy another one. My recent clip video of Jean Mobius Giraud and his lost masterpiece from 1970, which we need released for today. That is actually a clip from one of those Jonathan Ross shows, but I took the Mobius part of it out and put it here on the channel. I don't like to take other existing content like that too much, but sometimes when I feel something needs to be clipped down and put it out and just kind of archived in a place, in this particular place being here at Comic-Jutsu inside the Comic Book Dojo, so that people like you can find it and go and check it out, I will do just that. Anyway, I got an immediate response for it. This one is from Half On 005. I remember Heavy Metal Magazine had the Mad and other Mobius stories that just rock. I 100% agree. I actually responded to him on the channel. Yes, I love Arzak. I don't remember the Mad. I'll have to go through my issues and see if I can find any of those stories. And Half On 005 responded back. Actually, it was Uragel and and it was actually Philip Droulet. My bad, but it's still heavy metal and a long time ago in a far away star system. Perfectly fine with that. I still love hearing about things that I'm not entirely familiar with. These responses and this whole conversation actually made me do what? Go back out on the secondary market. What did I find just today? Heavy Metal 1, Heavy Metal 2, Heavy Metal 3, all in one lot for a price I could deal with, basically for the price of issue 1, what you can find issue 1 for on the back market. I got those 3 issues. That plugs in, almost completes my run. Oh, they're pinging me here at the dojo. Almost completes my run of the first year of Heavy Metal Magazine. I already have a complete run of 78, 79, a complete run of 1981, and half of 82, and then smatterings of issues after that. Including most of Grant Morrison's run from maybe 10 years ago now. But anyway, I would love to fill in maybe up to 1984, just have all of those early issues. Those books and stories are just absolutely mind-blowing. And really, even the covers are just great almost through the entirety of its run. Though Heavy Metal has fallen on some hard times here recently, but we're not focusing on just that, so we'll keep rolling things along. Speaking of more heavy metal action, I reposted the Heavy Metal Metalverse trailer that came out a few years ago, just to help amplify the signal. Got a response from ForceFeed3959, who said, "This would completely, all caps, destroy the woke DC and Marvel if ever it became a thing. If it ever became a thing, I would never do a movie, though. It won't fly in our stupidly woke environment. Make a series, even a mini-series, and name it Tales in Metal, based on Heavy Metal Magazine. The other stories, like the alien abduction, needs to shine. Stern as well." There you go. That's a great comment and a pretty great suggestion. I try not to get into the whole woke versus anti-woke battle, but sometimes you will hear me refer to the Baishua, which is the Chinese designation for that whole whatever you want to call that, the Baishua. Because it is out there, and he is right about the censorship that we face in our creativity nowadays, that people want to destroy anything that they feel threatened by. Myself, I've had responses to works where I thought, you know what, this is just a piece of crap. It shouldn't exist. I don't think it's great. But I've never thought to myself, you know what, people should not be able to access this in any form whatsoever. I mean, if it's something I just find morally objectionable, I might say so, but I'm not going to campaign to have it not exist or have it taken down or have it quote-unquote canceled or anything to that extent. Let it exist for the people that dig it, the people that are into the Baishua and all of that stuff, or what you call woke or what you call anti-woke, or whether you're CG or anti-CG, or or if you're with funny paper pages or if you're anti-funny paper pages, any of that stuff, just let them do their thing. I mean, there's enough room out there for everyone. Focus on you. Make yourself happy as a human. If you're a creator, fulfill yourself creatively, which is what Comic-Jutsu is all about, because I have to fulfill myself. Okay, rolling along. Let's jump over to a a comment that I got over at the Ringside Rats page. I made an offhand comment, something about, I was responding to a post about people people hating local comic shops and stuff. So I responded, I love the local shops, but it might be time for floppies to go the way of the dodo. And I was responded to by James there. I won't put his full name on blast. He gave me a really good comment. Floppy sales are the cornerstone of how the mainstream comic industry even can function. Single issue sales pay for the production of the comic. Nobody wants to pay for the equivalent of 5 or 6 issues of a comic in advance with no way to evaluate sales data. The sale of single issues not only pays for its production, but also lets you know it's not selling with its pre-order information. Then, after the single issues come out, you can sell the story again in a collection, and then sell the story yet again in a deluxe reprint, and then sell the story yet again in an omnibus. The goal is to sell a comic as many times as possible with as minimal risk as possible. Floppies are essential to the business model. It might be possible to stop selling print floppies and instead publish installments exclusively digitally, judging interest from that, and then printing collections of it later. But digital reading adoption doesn't seem to have matured enough to support that, at least with traditional brands. Webtoon, he quotes, seems to have found its audience and niche. I thought those were really good points, but if people are saying that the comic shop industry as we know it are dying and the floppies are the cornerstone of that, it might be time to change that model. And the thing that he neglects is that there are people using crowdfunding to not sell just floppies. You will find floppies. We recently talked about the Ghosts in a Burning City Kickstarter. That's a Kickstarter for a single issue for a floppy. But there are other Kickstarters, Indiegogos, what have you, where they sell you the graphic novel, which is my plan, bypassing the floppy model. Okay, because the question I kept asking myself, I love floppies, I love picking them up. My history is getting them out of the rack at the Rite Aid. Okay, it was every week Wednesday, boom, I rode my bicycle down there, picked up the latest X-Men, latest Spider-Man, latest Thor, latest Green Lantern, latest Captain America, whatever it was, latest Teen Titans. Grabbed those things, could not wait to devour them. Those racks are gone. Those racks are not even in bookstores much anymore. Okay, you cannot find them in bookstores, much less a drugstore, much less a gas station like the 7-Eleven. Again, I used to haunt all of them, even the grocery store, the Piggly Wiggly. So I had two. I had the Rite Aid. I could get my Marvel DC. If I went to Piggly Wiggly, they had First Comics. They had Now Comics. B. Dalton's had Continuity Comics, the Neil Adams studio. Gone, 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 gone. Now you pick up a floppy. I've got one right here. I've got a couple right here. Okay, $3.99, not horrible. $9.99 for one issue. $9.99. That's a big ask. You're pretty much saying, okay, kids are not going to buy this. We're selling this to adults. We're selling this to an older audience. We're not trying to bring in, quote unquote, the mythical new reader. So what are you doing? Are you cutting the audience in half? Cutting it in thirds? Cutting it into a quarter? Cutting it into something even smaller than that? We're in the digital age. We have the power of crowdfunding. We can rebuild the comic industry, make it stronger, make it faster, make it better than ever before. So I can see a model that we create, that is being created now, where people are already successfully making mazillions of dollars doing this stuff. Okay? And I'm sure you know who they are. Okay? They're putting out the full graphic novel. There is no pre-order floppy. There's none of that. I spent years arguing with people online. Like, hey, buy this book. Hey, support this book. Oh, no, no, no. I'm going to wait for the trade. I want to read it. I'll wait for the trade. I'm tired of having comic boxes around my house. I want a trade because it sits on my shelf. Just the endless reasons that people would come up and fight with you and argue with you and tell you why they were not going to support a book. And I would say over and over, if you don't buy this issue at 1, if you don't buy this series at issue 2, if you don't buy this series at issue 3, there is no 4, there is no 5, there is no 6, there is no trade, there is no omnibus. Right? So my thinking, if we have to create this new model outside of, I'm not saying destroy the comic shops, I'm not saying destroy the floppies, but we have to liberate ourselves from that model. Why do we want to be shackled to it anyway? We've watched how Diamond has strangled the industry for 30 years, forcing out smaller publishers, right? We've watched how the companies all collude and work together, right? How they do what they can do to maintain their market share. They don't mind flooding the shelves with an issue of Spider-Man with 6 alternate covers every single month. They don't mind that because they have the IP, because they have the history, because they have the backing to do that. Okay, those of us that want creative freedom, that want to take chances, that want to get out there and reach for something and create something new. Like in those old days when the golden age started and we had we had Superman, we had Batman, we had Wonder Woman. Then came Shazam, Captain Marvel at the time. Then the Silver Age, we had the new Green Lantern, we had Spider-Man, we had the X-Men, Thor, Captain America, all these brilliant things. And then at the end of the Dark Age where things shifted from the Wolverines and the Punishers and all those crazy people to the recent Diamond Age that we went through, where we had an explosion of individual expressions from Mike Allred's Madman to Grendel to Dan Clowes to all of these things, like a diamond, giving you that rainbow of creativity, to where we are now, where we have it all, where we still have to deal with this shadow of these redundant dark ages, or you might call them bronze ages, where little remnants and pieces of Dark Knight Returns and The Watchmen and those things continue to reach out like Grimer Wormtongue whispering in the ear of comics companies, make this darker, more powerful, more sinister. And then whatever by Schwa elements sneak into it for their bizarro world marketing. It's up to us, the individual creators, to come up with these new ideas. These are my ideas here you see behind me. They may not be comic books, but they were created. They were put out there for audiences, unfettered, unbridled, mine to share with you. Just like my graphic novel, just like my story. We've got to take those chances. So if you run a successful Kickstarter, Indiegogo, what have you, GoFundMe, make your graphic novel. Who's to say you can't go backwards? Okay, we gave you the graphic novel. You want the floppies? Let's chop it up. Pop, 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 pop. We'll chop this up into 4 single issues. We'll chop this up into 6 single issues. We do 2, 3 graphic novels. Boom, we've still got the omnibus. It's there, but we have to think our way around this and recognize the problems that are going on, because superheroes are more popular, more powerful, more prevalent, widespread than ever before, with otaku culture, taking over our own. But comics are being left in the dust. Manga is kicking the shit out of it. Do they bring floppies over to sell? No. You don't see manga floppies at your Borders bookstore, your Books A Million. You see manga filling those shelves. You see those square-bound books, smaller, usually black and white, and a lot more of them than you see floppies. That is what you call mic drop, baby. All right, let's talk about the books that I picked up this week. Showed off one already. Jack Kirby's Star Warriors. I'm a Tom Scioli fan from way back. Big fan of his. Of course, huge fan of Jack Kirby. So I'm curious about how he treated this. I was not pleased with the price. $10. Bill, you know, if you want to say, oh, you're poor, okay, listen. I'm a working artist. I've got bills to pay. I have a lot of interests, okay? Before you call me poor, make sure you can defend the choke, because I got to mean mataleon, if you know what I mean. So don't be popping off at the gums. Wraith and Son from Frank Miller Presents. I'll put that with my stack of recently waterlogged issues of Frank Miller Presents. I nabbed a nifty facsimile of Ultimate Fallout. I never liked the Ultimate series from the beginning. Thought it was a gimmick. Never got into it. I know it has its fans, but you saw the way that it ran its course was what I predicted from the beginning. So, of course, I missed Miles Morales. Miles Morales has grown, become its own thing. It has leapt out of the comic book world into the larger pop culture and awareness of the fans out there. So I wanted to back up and get the facsimile so I could see where good old Miles came from. And I also grabbed another facsimile, Vampirella one. Check that bad boy out. Okay, so apparently they ran some kind of Instagram filter over the Frank Frazetta cover. I would much rather have the original Frazetta artwork without this, you know, this stained glass window approach, basically ruining it. But the interior is all, you know, reprint, facsimile, the original thing, same ads. I'm a big proponent of facsimiles. I always say grab them when you can because you never know when they are coming back. And I also scored a nice nifty little run of books on the secondary market to help fill in my classic Captain America run. Check it out. John Byrne issues. Didn't have it. That's got a Batroc fight in it, so Batroc versus Cap. That means Comic Book Dojo Breakdown incoming. Prelude to the Baron Blood storyline. I actually do have this one, so this is a double. Maybe somebody out there will get it. And another one, The Ghosts of Greymore Castle. There you have it. That's the Monday Morning Mailbag. I'm JT McRoberts. Thanks for listening to my sermon. Follow me by the links you can find down at the link tree right below. I'm on Twitter, X. I'm even on Blue Sky now. I'm over at Threads, Facebook, Instagram, all these things. The graphic novel is coming. I am working on it. I work alone. It will be ready eventually. And then you may assess it as you will. But first, you must pay for it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Mate.